Right. So now the screen is available for you. So I'm going to record this session now so that I can send you the link also. So, you know, later on if you want, you can refer it out. So, shall we read? Yeah. Shall we read this unseen? So, this is what you will get for the first 60 minutes in your paper.
Okay.
So, let's look at. So, already you have done your past work, all that you have come from home. And now, don't think this is an exam. Think that you are working inside the company. You know the company, everything. And now this is what is going to happen on the 16th May 2015. So what I was trying to tell you was, even though we are going to have a March exam, even the pilot paper is structured for May 2015.
Yeah. Okay.
Now you are sitting for the May or March exam, Andrew?
March.
March, okay, right. So we are going for the March exam. So let's look at. So today is 16th May 2015. So they will say today is 9th March 2015. Okay?
Okay.
You are a senior manager advising Judith, the new CEO, on issues related to shareholders. The current position is as follows. So now you must know the CEO, of course in this question it says the new CEO, but your pre-scene, by that time you will know that this lady is a new CEO. So you and I know when a new CEO comes, what happens? When a new CEO comes, generally, you know, all the things are going to change up for you, right?
Yeah.
Because she's the person who is going to decide on the strategy. So lot of changes are going to happen when a new CEO comes up. So we need to go back on our memory and find out, okay, when did this lady join our company? So that will give us a kind of idea. You see, because now she had joined on 1st December 2014. That I got it from my pre-scene.
Yeah.
Now at the exam, I'm not going to get it because by that time I will know. Yes, she had joined just about 2 or 3 months back. So she is rather a new person. And look at her background. She started her career as a journalist with a national newspaper. She was promoted to the deputy editor before leaving to take charge of public relations department of a television production company. She had several roles with that company before joining its board as sales director. Right? So she's coming from a media background and ultimately ending up as the sales director. And now she is joining our company, which is a kind of a online distribution company with 6 business sectors.
Yes.
So the current position, right? You are the senior manager advising Judith. So you have to understand, Judith is not a financial person.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? She's a journalist. So as a journalist, she will expect you to, you know, write things nicely because that is her mentality. So that is what she will expect. She's a journalist. So she would expect you to present things in a beautiful way, in a manner like a journalist expects. Got the point?
Yeah.
Right. So Cast is the private company, and so its shares are not freely traded. So we knew from the pre-scene, it's a private company, a long-established private company, where the shares have changed from hand to hand. It was a family company at the beginning, but the family has grown, and you know there would have been in-laws and all the people coming up, and the company has grown, but still it is a private company. So the shares are not freely traded. The company was established as a family business, but there are now 40 shareholders. Now that's a very important one. 40. Still there are only 40 shareholders. There are no close family ties holding the shares together. So that means the shares are scattered all over. There are no particular groups holding the shares. Over the years, the shares have changed hands because of the inheritance. So the children would have got married, the daughters would have got married, and it would have gone from hand to hand. And now maybe they will find it difficult to trace the origins even. The present shareholders are not closely related. The present shareholders are not closely related. So there are no big groups as such. The only significant shareholder is Arnold, who is the great-grandson of the shopkeeper who founded the business, and he owns 30% of car shares. Now your mind should read a 30% holding. 30% holding gives you a what we call a significant influence.
Yes. Yes.
Right? You are not going to control the company, but a 30% surely will give a significant influence, and he is coming from the old family. Right? He's a great grandson of the old family, and he is the one man who is holding 30% of the share. So the balance 70% is scattered amongst balance 39 shareholders.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? So that is what it means. So the only significant shareholder. That means the others are not significant shareholder. They must be holding 1%, 2% kind of a scenario. Caste constitution form is a sale of shares to anyone other than an existing shareholder. And that's typical in a private company. In a private company, you can't go and sell shares to each Tom, Dick and Harry. You can only sell to the existing shareholder. And one of the problems is trying to negotiate a price, because there is no market price. So now your mind should be twisting on all those things. That creates two problems. First of all, shareholders cannot liquidate any of their shareholding unless they can find a willing buyer amongst the other shareholders. In other words, there is no particular active market. Active market. If you want to sell shares, you have to find a person who is willing to buy the shares. But surely you are not going to hold lot of shares, maybe 1%, 2%, that's a kind of a thing. So maybe going to the finances will tell us the share capital, and it will tell us the number of shares, and okay, the 30% is so much and the 40% is so much. So, so probably before I answer the task, I will look at the shareholding, maybe going back to the PC, the finance.
Right. Okay.
Right. So, first of all, shareholders cannot liquidate any of their shareholders unless they can find. There's a feeling that the few shares that have occurred, sales that have occurred, have tended to be less than the real value of the company's share. Because since there's no market price, it will be a negotiated price, and obviously who wants to sell the shares is more desperate than I who want to buy the shares. So, probably you are not going to get the right price for your shares. Because the seller is more desperate than the buyer. That kind of a scenario. So secondly, there's a tax charge when shares change hands because of inheritance. Because most of the shares have come to you free of any cost. You didn't buy it. It came purely because of the inheritance. And now when you sell, you have capital gains. This requires a fair value to be negotiated with the tax authorities, and that has created significant problems over the past few years. Yeah, now that's a big problem when the shares are not properly marketed or no market price with the tax authorities for the wealth tax purposes, for capital gains purposes, to get a valuation or to agree with a valuation is a very tough one. Because they would like to value it at the highest possible price because they want to get the highest tax from you. Yeah?
Yes, yes. Okay.
So several shareholders believe that Judith's appointment, or Judith is a new CEO who came just a couple of months back, is an ideal time for caste to seek a stock market quotation. So, company that had been 100 years old, I think, right, which had been there for a long, long period, and now the shareholder, the 40 shareholders, a part of them maybe, is thinking several shareholders. So, we don't know whether it is 40, but several. People are thinking of going for good time to go for listing. So now your mind should be thinking of all the time listed. So 1920 year company incorporated, or business started in 1920, and somewhere in 1922 it was, I think, incorporated, and now in 2015 they are thinking of going listed. And the company is large enough, so you can see it's a big company to be in the top 250 companies. in the National Stock Exchange in the event that it is quoted. The shareholders have written to the company with a formal request that the directors begin the process of seeking a quotation. Arnold is aware of this request and has spoken to Judith to explain his reluctance to see the company seek a quotation. The major shareholder doesn't like going for a quotation or for going for listing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the small shareholders, several of small shareholders, they are thinking of going for listing. Two reasons, probably they are looking because there is no immediate market available and the valuation of shares is difficult, transfers are difficult, and therefore they are looking at. Arnold, not happy with it. So you can see the scenario now. So Judith has asked you to step into her office to discuss something important. So Judith is calling you, and now that was the scenario that was there, right? That was the scenario that is there. And Judith is now calling you to her office. And,
Right. Okay.
and there is a, I have put it up on here, but before that the reference material is available. You are not going to see the reference material. You can see the reference material. But before that, Judith will call you and say, hey Andrew, this is my problem. So,
Yeah. Okay.
right? You go to her office, and she is giving a copy of the letter. The copy of the letter that was written by the shareholders. And that is the reference material. That material will be available for you on the screen. So,
Right. Okay.
right, that letter is the letter. I have put it here. So now, since he is giving the letter, let's read the letter. So to the board of directors of Cast, we write as owners of more than 40% of Cast equity. Who is holding 30%? 30% is held by Arnold. 40% of the shareholder, that is Simon and 8 other shareholders, they have got together and write in a letter to the board of directors of Cast.
Yeah.
So 30% owned by one person, 40% owned by 8 people, 8 shareholders, and obviously the balance 30% is held by 1 plus 8 is 9, right? Simon and 8 other shareholders, so that is 9 there, plus the 1 is 10. The balance 30% is held by 30 shareholders. So you can get an idea of the shareholding. One man holding 30%, 9 people holding 40%, the balance 30 people holding 30%. That is the power base. So our company has had a long distinguished history. It had humble beginnings, but through hard work and imaginative management has grown from a single shop to one of the company's leading retailers. In the past, we have prided ourselves on being one of the country's largest unquoted company. So they have taken pride being an unlisted company. We have valued our independence and the freedom to take decisions without being held accountable to a widespread and transient body of market participants. So you and I now will have to remember, when I go for listing, what are the advantages, disadvantages. One of the problems with the listing is that you are exposed to a lot of disclosures. You have to disclose, you have to manage corporate governance, too many things to be done. But as a non-listed company, you have the freedom, and even these 9 shareholders admit and accept that they have had the freedom.
Yeah.
But they say, unfortunately, we no longer feel that the advantages of our unquoted status outweigh the disadvantages. Right?
Okay.
So they feel now, being unquoted is not good enough. It is having more disadvantages than advantages. And therefore, we believe that Cast cannot expand unless we seek a stock market quotation. So remember, they are talking about growth. Businesses must grow. And what they feel is, if they want to grow, expand, it's time for them to go for stockholding listing. We urge the board, urge means you are rather pressurizing. put in the pressure. 9 shareholders holding 30% is putting some kind of a pressure on the board to commence the process of registering the company with the stock exchange. Clearly, this will be a challenging and expensive process. We believe that the cost will be more than compensated by the benefits. So, 9 shareholders with a 40% holding is doing this part of it.
Yeah. Okay.
So that is the reference material. So Judith will call you and give you that letter. Right? And she goes to say, I hope that you slept well last night because today is going to be busy. The CEO just sent me a copy of a letter and I have to brief the board on the most appropriate response to this afternoon. So you can say this evening she will have to go before the board and talk about this matter. The only thing that surprises me about this letter that it has taken so long for them to make a formal request. The shareholders have been talking about for these ages. So she herself says, you know, the shareholders have been talking, but she's surprised why now they are going to make this request or why it took so long. My big worry is just keeping everybody happy. Now as a company, this is a big worry for any one of us, to keep everybody happy. Various stakeholders have various interests. To keep everyone happy is a very, very tough job for us. And that is a job for the board of directors. And that is where the boards will have to show their skills, communication skills, experience, knowledge, tactfulness, all that comes up when you want to satisfy all the stakeholders.
Yeah.
I need you to work out who is going to be affected by this. Right? So 9 people are coming and saying go for a listing. So your CEO is telling, I want you to work out who is going to be affected by this. Obviously your mind will now run immediately. Arnold is going to be affected because Arnold doesn't like the listing. Arnold doesn't like. I always think that identifying the stakeholders lets you know who will be affected and how. Now that is the key statement for me. Right? What I see in this new case study, you don't get an exact requirement, but you have to do it. But reading some of these things, you will get the idea. Right? I always think identify the stakeholders lets you know who will be affected. Now that is yes.
It won't be a direct question. It's kind of picking out the relevant.
Yeah, that's correct. Now that's a skill. That's a skill you have to build it up, and that's real business life, right?
Yeah.
Because the lady is not going to talk to you about a Mendelos matrix. She doesn't know who Mendelos is. She doesn't know who ends off it. But now your mind will immediately run to the Mendelos. This is what your technical skills are going to be.
Right. Okay.
Right? This is where your technical skills are coming up. So I always think that identifying, so the CEO is telling, I always think. So you can't ignore the CEO's beliefs. Now that is what we call your leadership skills. You must be a mature person to understand what this lady is telling you.
Yes. Yes.
Remember, particularly with the ladies, very tough. They don't tell you very directly. But we have to understand, even our own wives sometimes, you know, the way that they communicate, we don't get it directly, but we are skilled enough, we are experienced enough, we know when she smiles, when she, you know, look the other side, we know that something is wrong somewhere or something is happening. So,
yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So that is the skill, that is the maturity we are going to build up inside the organization. So this lady telling you, I always think, means you must, Andrew, talk about it.
Yeah, yeah.
So, since she says, so I need you to give me a list of stakeholders. Very clear. These are the points that I want you to catch up. This is the same way in the top Sima we catch up. So, I need to give you me a list of stakeholders. So, you can't miss that one. So, you probably have a sketch pad in your computer, answer. You will go to the sketch pad and write stakeholders.
Yeah, yeah.
So that you know you will not forget about it. Put up your point, plan up your points. Take the sketch pad, open up, put up all the points.
Yeah.
I need to give me a list of stakeholders along with an explanation of why each is affected and how their interest will be affected. Simply she is asking about the Mendelos. Simply she is asking about the Mendelos. High power,
Yeah.
high interest, all that kind of a thing. I need, give me a list of stakeholders. Give me a list of stakeholders along with an explanation why each is affected and how their interest will be affected. That is, if you go for listing, how they are going to be affected. While you are doing that, I also need you to think about Arnold, the big man. He owns so many shares that we need to keep him happy at all costs. At any cost, in other words. We can't make him disappointed because he's a significant shareholder, 30% holding man, and coming from the traditional family. So we can't afford to disappoint him. We have to keep him happy at all costs. I met with him recently and asked what he thought about the quotation, but he just gave me a sneaky smile and said that lots of people ask him that very question all the time, that then he changed the subject. So you can say he's not really against Arnold, but he's avoiding the subject. He's talking about something else. He gives a sneaky smile. So he's not really a willing man, but probably not a man who is totally unwilling also. If he's unwilling, he will protest. Don't talk about it or something. But it looks like giving a sneaky smile. So you have to picture this fellow. If you can picture it, you are going to get the right thing.
Kind of as though he's undecided.
Yeah, right. Right? So, a man to whom you can convince probably. He's not a hard thinker. Some people are hard thinkers. They will say, no, I don't want to talk about it. I'm totally against. That closes the gate. But it's not so here. Right? He gave me a sneaky smile and he said, a lot of people have been asking about this, and then he changed the subject. He must be talking about the Sri Lankan elections. I want to be ready.
He's kind of expecting it.
Yeah, that's right. Right? I want to be ready because the board is bound to ask how we should deal with Arnold. Now you can see, even though it is not listed as 2 stars, you can see the 2 tasks. One is, you have to give that stakeholder list and their interest and how they are going to be affected. Second one, I want to be ready because the board is bound to ask how we should deal with Arnold. How to deal with Arnold. He did not sign the letter from the shareholder group, although I don't know if he was even asked to. So that 8 people who have signed does not include this man, that we know. I need you to think about a strategy for dealing with Arnold and to put your thoughts down on paper. So now you can see 2 requirements are there. Don't mix up. There are 2 requirements for you. So I know this doesn't leave you much time, but I need all within the hour. This is the scenario.
Right, okay.
This is the scenario. This is what you will get for the first strain. So with this thing, now you have to think of your how to planning. Now, first thing, you are not going to write it. You are going to plan it. You are going to think about it. What is this lady asking? Right? And how am I going to deal with it? So we know. So first of all, we must think about the stakeholders. So because of the stakeholder list and how they are going to be interested, your mind should tell you should be doing a Mendelos matrix. Right? Probably in the computer screen, you may be able to put borders and all that kind of a thing. Or otherwise, if you can't do it, just say the stakeholders. Right? So you will say, okay, you can say high power, high interest people, and list out the people. Right? So like that. So now I'm going to write the answer. I'm planning the answer. Right? Rather I'm not writing. but I'm going to plan the answer. I want to think what and what I should write to this lady in 60 minutes time. So you will get a computer screen, like a Word document kind of a thing. You know that your other side is a journalist who likes neat presentations. So you are going to do this thing. So first of all, you will be talking about the stakeholder interest. So for that purpose, you must categorize the stakeholders. Categorize the stakeholders. So you remember the categorization we have in our this thing, the high power, right? High interest people. Who are the high power, high interest people in this scenario? High power, high interest.
Key players, so probably Arnold.
Arnold is definitely a high power, high interest person for many reasons. Yes?
Yeah. And then Simon plus the 8 shareholders.
Simon plus the 8 will be a high power, high interest because they are holding between them 40% of the shares.
Yeah.
High power, high interest. Yes. Then who else? The board of directors, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. The board of directors, because they are high power, high interest people, because they are the people who are going to make all the decisions. So probably that will be your the high power, high interest. So I can come and write it on my screen itself, right? The stakeholder analysis, I say. Stakeholder analysis. The stakeholders are high power, high interest, and I put all those people. Then I look at the high power, low interest. High power, low interest. Who are the people? Just think about one or two, that's good enough. High power, low interest. Who are the people? High power, low interest. High power, but probably not too much of interest. Remember that balanced 30 people. And
I was thinking about that. I'd probably put them more with a high interest.
Those people also. Those. Yeah, you're right. In a way, right? If you really look at those people also, you can put it because they have 30% holding between 30 people. If they get together, they probably will be high power, high interest group. But if they are scattered,
I was going to say low power, high interest.
I think so. I think so. Low power and probably even low interest maybe, or low power, high interest.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Even they may be low power, low interest because they are just holding maybe 1%, half a percent kind of holding.
Yeah, true.
Right,
yes.
right. They may be getting some kind of a dividend, they'll be interested or they may not be interested. But the 9 people, surely, they have got together as a group and therefore as a group, they have the high power, high interest.
Yeah, definitely, yes.
Right? So then we can think of low power, low interest. So probably these people will come there. Any other people you can think of? Low power, low interest. Look at this company. What is this company? This is a company that is dealing with online business. Yeah.
So suppliers and customers, would they form part of
that? Suppliers and customers I think will come under low power, low interest. Because there are a lot of other people also supplying. So there is no particular reason why they should be attached to you.
No.
Yeah. So they may be low power, low interest. Low power, low interest. But the suppliers, surely, I think they'll be low power but high interest. Because you're a big dealer and they will like to supply you. Low power, high interest. And the employees always fall into this category. Employees always will fall into this category. So, basically, we can think in that line. So, basically, I can say that I have identified so many stakeholders. Right? So, Arnold is one stakeholder. The Simon and the 8 will be another set of stakeholders. the small group, the other 30% small group, then the customers, suppliers, and employees. That's more than enough. Remember, because I have only 1 hour to write it, so I have basically identified those people. And now we have to see what their interests are going to be. So basically, I want to deal with the first man, the big man, right?
Yeah.
Arnold. I want to look at from his angle, if we want to go for a listing, what will be his scenario? That is what you want to do. I need to ask you who is going to be affected by this. So how will he be affected? Arnold. Can you think of from Arnold's angle?
Possible. At the moment, he's the major shareholder. He's got a significant amount of control. He might be worried if they get a stock market listing that he's going to lose some of the control that he has.
Yeah. Yeah. And probably, you know, being a private company, having a 30% holding, he must be getting a fair good dividend. Yeah?
Yeah.
So he is not really interested in selling the shares because he must be getting annually a good dividend.
Yeah.
You got the point. And also, he has some pride in holding to the shares because he is coming from the founder's inheritance, a founder's grandson. He is the only one who is having a kind of a direct line to the founder.
Yeah.
So, and considering all that, he is very unlikely he is going to be very much interested in a stock listing.
Yeah.
Because the reason is, being a 30% holder, he is getting a regular dividend, and with that kind of a regular dividend, I don't want to, you know, sell my shares. I want to hold on to that. And I'm a significant shareholder. I can't control, but I can have a significant shareholder. So to that extent, most likely Arnold is not going to be very happy with that one. Now this is what you are going to write. Look at from each stakeholder's point of view. You listed out the stakeholders. Now look at each stakeholder's point of view and write about something. What about this Simon and the 8 people? What about the Simon and the 8 people? Between them,
the company expansion and possibly personal growth prospects for them as well.
And they have between 9 of them, they have 40% holding.
Yeah.
Right, which is quite significant, but not so significant as Arnold's. So they have a 40% holding, and probably some of those people, because the letter very clearly shows they are very interested in going for listing, because they may be wanting to realize their money, convert the paper into money.
Yeah.
And they want to get a good value, because all this time, but there were past sales, the people have not got the right thing, and they have issues with the tax people and all that, and therefore they are the people who will be very much interested, and they have initiated this as the CEO has just come up. So they probably would want to go ahead with this one.
Yeah. Okay.
So that is their primary interest in trying to do it. They probably want to realize their money. And maybe they want to realize that money and invest elsewhere, or whatever it may be. That may be the reason why they are initiating this thing. Right? Then, who are the next people we have? We have this other 30% people, isn't it?
Yeah.
There are 30 more shareholders with a holding of 30%.
Yeah.
Right? They are probably, as you rightly said, they are probably the low power, low interest at the moment. Low power, low interest.
Indifferent, really. They probably haven't got a great enough shareholding to make a big amount of money out
Yeah.
of the sale, and
Yeah.
they're possibly receiving a dividend that keeps their annual
Yeah, yeah,
income.
they may not be that much interested in even in selling the share. They may be holding on to those shares because they come from the inheritance, and they may be quite content with what the dividends that they are getting.
Yeah.
However, having said that one, if they get together as a group between 30 people, they have a 30% holding that can convert them or shift them from the low interest, low power people even to the high interest, high power people.
Yeah, yeah.
This is what the Mendelow's matrix is going to help you. That is how our risk management strategy is going to work. We don't want them to shift it from one slot to the other slot. But if you don't ignore them, or if you ignore them, or if you just keep it, with the 9 people already at your doorstep, they also can become a force.
Yeah, yeah.
They can become a force. So they also may be wanting to go for the listing.
And then if they potentially joined together as a group that wanted the listing, then
Yeah.
effectively that's a 70% holding that's in favour.
That's correct.
of going for
Yeah,
listing.
that's correct. Yes, yeah. If they also get together with these 9 people, effectively they will have 70%, which is going to be a very, very tough decision for the board of directors to ignore it. So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah.
so you have to address their issues also. What about the employees? Employee. So probably you want to look at this point your mission statement, the corporate social responsibility statement, and see what are you talking about our employees. What are we talking about our employee? So what is our commitment to the employee? Now employees, what will they think about listing, Andrew? What will they think about listing? What is your view about it?
Some at the moment might be used to working for a family organisation where people know each other.
Yeah.
They're familiar with everything. And
Oh, right. Yeah.
business.
Yeah. But only thing is now that family concept is gone. You understand? It's
Yes.
a big unlisted company.
Yeah.
And they're diversified all over. The earlier, what you say is very good, very correct. In a family setup, the employees will not like a listing. Because that, the accessibility they had to the chairman or to the CEO, all that will be gone. The people don't like listing. But on the other hand, down here, I don't think that family thing is any longer there. Because it's scattered.
No, sorry.
Yeah, it's scattered all over. So the shareholders probably will be thinking in terms of whether they will get any share option scheme.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Whether they will get any share option scheme. If there are no share option schemes coming, it doesn't matter for them whether the company is listed or not. But generally, having said that one, when a company is listed, probably even the value of the employees go up. Because you are working for a listed company, your profile goes up. Your profile goes up. Because not like working for a private company, when you say you're working for a listed company, your profile goes up. But maybe the culture will change, there will be more pressure to make profits, more pressure for disclosure, and some other employees may not like.
Yeah, yeah.
Customers, what do you think about the customers? What is the impact on the customers of listing? Do you think that they will have any impact?
No.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so.
It's as though the customers have got plenty of choice on
Yeah, whether it is listed or not, it doesn't matter for them. So long as you supply, so long as the quality is good, so long as the price is okay, you go and buy it. Yeah?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Customer is not worried whether, because when I go to buy something, I'm not going to say whether you are a listed company or not. You sell me the right stuff at right price, I will buy it.
Yeah, exactly. So that's all they're going to be looking
Yeah.
at, really.
Yeah, so the customers, I don't think they are going to be affected. What about the suppliers? Suppliers. What do you think about them?
They're not going to be affected a great deal, are they?
Yeah, I don't think they are going to be affected great deal, but only thing is it can have an impact like this, because when a company goes listed, they become more exposed. I mean, they become their profile goes up. So there may be more suppliers wanting to supply to you when you are a listed company. And to that extent, the suppliers may be somewhat affected, but of course they have very little power to deal with.
So the company as a listed company may have more power over the suppliers.
More power of bargaining and all that.
Yeah.
And also, and if they expand it, because as the 9 people say, if they expand it, you know, the company will become further big, and probably the suppliers will lose even the chance what they have of bargaining.
Yeah.
Right? Because when your customer is too big, you have very little room for bargaining and all that. So this is what you should be looking at. And having said all that, now we are basically, in a nutshell, we have discussed all the stakeholders and their, you know, their view about the listing or how they are going to be affected. And this is what Judith is asking you. Having said that one, you probably want to end up with a conclusion. What is the conclusion that you will be wanting to make it up? Because what you saw was many will not be affected. Isn't it? Many will not be affected. Many will not be affected. But 2 parties are going to be affected. Anand and the 1+8.
Yes.
So you will probably say the board will have to consider the interest of Anand very carefully because he is a significant holder, and also the request of 1+8 that has come up now. That's how you will talk about that one. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Right? Basically what we are trying to tell is, you know, I saw that what my CEO wants it, I have taken it up and driven it very hard into her now.
Yeah.
So.
Makes a lot more sense than it did before kind of seeing this,
Yeah.
Of what they might expect.
Yeah, right. So that is what the examiner is looking in a question like this. Now, having done that one, we have a second part to this question. So, time management, I have to be very careful. I must plan it, write something, because I must go for the second part. Second part is, now this is where, honestly, I don't like this paper. I mean, not that I don't like, but compared to the Topsima, we had a time guidance. We knew for recommendations we can spend 40 minutes, for discussion we can spend 30 minutes like that. But here, that facility is not there. And we don't have the facility of coming back later on. So, it's a real tough scenario, but that is the real life also. Sometimes I come to a situation where my managing director gives me a call and say, I want it within next half an hour.
So, I mean, how would you deal with that then? So you've got 2 parts in this. You don't know how the marks are weighted on each.
You don't know. That's correct. You don't know how the marks are going to happen. Right? Nothing, no clue whatsoever. So probably you have to plan it in your mind. Okay, strategy for dealing with Anil, I'm going to put up. So on the sketch pad, I will put a few points. If they are given some marks, now in the earlier question paper, the strategy paper, we knew the marks. So we can balance it with the mark. But particularly when you have 2 tasks and 60 minutes, it's very difficult for you to work it through.
Yeah.
So you probably will have to think what is more important. But in this case, I think both are equally important.
Yeah.
So I would spend half of my time on one and half of my time on the other. And I might find once I do the second part, I don't have too much to write. For example, I have written everything and I have 10 minutes left over. right? In the first section, I have done both the tasks, but I have 10 minutes left over. Because I stopped the first section, first task in 25 minutes time, went into the second one, but the second one, now I find I don't need so much of time. So that balance time I can carry forward to my task 1 and do it.
Yeah, yeah.
You remember I have not gone from section 1 to section 2. So I can cut and paste and whatever I can do it.
Yeah, yeah.
And remember that you are writing a report, so put the headings, put the bold lines, put the underlining, put the emphasis, to make it very well. So now if you are going to talk about the stakeholders, put the stakeholders bold. When you are talking about Arnold, put it up in italics or something like that to make it very, to attract, to focus the reader, Judith's mind. Right. Now, having done that one, the next thing is strategy to deal with Arnold. Strategy to deal with Arnold. So, you probably want to give some points because she has not told whether to write an email or anything like that. So, if she had told that we will either write an email, but we have to see whether the computer screen what it is like. If it's an email, you will write an email. If it is just a memo, you will write a memo, whatever that is asked.
Yeah.
So now we have to think. So the question there is, I want to be ready because the board is bound to ask. I didn't sign the letter, although I know he was even, and I need you to think about a strategy for dealing with Arnold and to put your thoughts down on paper. Put your thoughts down on paper. So it's like a list of points that probably.
So would you just do kind of a bullet point list?
Yeah, kind of bullet point. Right? You can say to Judy, my thoughts about how to handle Arnold.
Yeah.
Now, what is the issue here? We want to go for listing. So, we must now talk about from Arnold's point of view and from the company's point of view. Arnold surely is not too much in favor, but not really against also. So, we should be trying, because now we have 9 people already asking for it, and I think it is good for the company to go listing. Why? Because there are a couple of reasons. Because the company is expanding, the number of shareholders are expanding, and keeping it as a private company will make lot of restrictions on transferability to get a right price, and that can keep the shareholders quite unhappy.
Yeah, okay.
And therefore, I also believe it's time for go for listing. But having said that one, I will look at quickly the 2 companies they are given to me in my unseen to look at the share prices. I want to see whether this is the right time to go for a listing. That is also very important. Whenever we are talking, when we are telling something, we must see whether it is the right time for go for share listing. What do you think? This is the right time. This is the right time to go for share listing. So I want to look at very quickly on this strategic case study what we have on the share movement of the competitor.
The graph shows the share price dramatically fallen.
The market is falling. You can see in both the companies. Yeah. Right. Both the companies. Right. Yeah. It has risen and it is on the falling level. So this may not be the right time for you to go for share listing.
Although it is starting to come up slightly at the end. Although it's only very much in the last end of.
Yeah.
It is starting to rise again at the very end.
Yeah.
It's not enough to make some kind of accurate prediction.
Correct. But from the face of it, it looks like this probably may not be the time. There may be it has been in peak, but it has come down, and it may be time for us to wait unless there is some immediate compulsion to go for it. But we can plan for it.
Yeah.
We can plan for it. So we have to now think of how are we going to approach this our friend Mr. Arnold. Anand. So, we also agree it's good for to go, although the timing may not be the right thing. So, what shall we do? What shall we do? So, we have to approach Anand, because we can't keep him in the darkness. We have to approach Anand and have to convince him, knowing that he is not really interested. How can we convince him? How can we convince him? The way to convince him is to talk about the advantages of listing.
Yeah.
And you can tell him there's no reason why he should get affected, because he can hold on to his 30% shares. So he will not lose his control. He need not sell. He need not sell. He can hold on to 30% shares, but those shares will have a value now.
Yeah.
Those shares will have a value. So, and the company, being a listed company, will have a enhanced value with the market, and that means your wealth is going to go up, and anytime if you want to dispose the shares, there is a market. So you have to persuade Anand. Right? Persuade Anand. First to do that, first to persuade Anand, you must be convinced that it's a good thing to do it. Because you can't persuade something to some person unless you are convinced. So first of all, you must be convinced. So in the examination hall, you must think, is this right? Should we go for it? I think we should go for it. Why? Because, the company is too old, good enough to be listed in the first 250 companies. So why not we go for it? Why not we go for it?
Yeah.
On the other hand, you might think, why should I go for it? Because all this time I have been a unlisted company, right? My business has been okay recently, no problems. Why should I go listed? So mainly why are people going for listing? Mainly to raise money, correct? Mainly we go for listing to raise money in the market.
Yeah.
So this company doesn't seem to be in need of money. In need of money. So here again we must go and see our balance sheets and get a good idea whether they have any loans coming up for repayment, something that will give us some kind of a scenario, right? So it's good to go and see the company financial statements. Did they give the company financial statements? Yes. Number 7. So if I have a good idea, it's easy for me, but otherwise I'll go and check this area. Yeah. So let's look at the company is making good profit, no problem.
Yep.
Right? No problem. Company is making good profit. They are paying good dividends. It's all right. Statement of financial position. They have enough cash, about 238, 243. They don't seem to be in that much of a difficulty on the cash flow. Looking at the cash flow itself, they generated 501 million. Yeah. They don't seem to be, debenture loans are there, but no, when are they saying they have to settle anything? No, nothing about anything like that. Enough cash. Enough cash. This year they have only generated ultimately a $5 million cash flow, but with the 238 million, they have enough cash in the coffers. So they don't need to seem to be in a mighty hurry to raise money. So why should they go for listing? The only reason they should go for listing is to get what we call a listed price, a quotation, a market price. So the people who want to sell the shares can sell, and there will be a market. And also to get this problem of the tax people. Yeah. So your first action will be to persuade Anand to go for the quotation. then you must dispel his fears. One of his fears will be the dilution of his control. You can assure it will not happen so long as you hold 30% of the shares. But having said that one, there's a danger. If the other 70% or other people's shares are bought by one party, Arnold may be in a bit of a unsecure position.
Yeah.
He will not have a significant influence, because if these 9 people's shares 40% is bought by one more party, then the Arnold's position. So we have to
that's more an unlikely situation though.
Pardon?
That's more unlikely than a number.
Very unlikely, because when you sell the shares, the market, there will be many investors.
Yeah.
So most likely, this man can keep up to that significant thing. But we have to give him something bigger, something attractive. What can you attract him? How can you attract him to perceive your idea? Now he's just a shareholder at the moment. Yeah?
Yes.
He's not a director. Can we offer him a directorate? Can we offer him a directorate? What harm? Not as an executive director, but as a non-executive director. Yeah?
Yeah.
He's a man, who's coming from the family, who probably knows the business and who had been there for the company loyalty. So, why don't you offer him a non-executive director position? Now, this is what you are going to think. This is the way that you want to convince a person. Because if you just go and tell him that, Anand, look here, Anand, the other fellows are pressing me, he is not going to be ready for it. But if you can tell, hey, Anand, you're right? Look here, man, why don't we go listing? You can have your 30%, but we go for listing, your shares are going to go up. And your shares are going to have a more value. Because one day when you want to put the 30% to transfer 30%, you will not find a buyer. That's the point. Yeah? If I have 30% and other 70% of the people are all small people, I will never be able to sell my 30% one day.
Yeah.
So, I'm getting old. So, the day that I want to sell, because we don't have any details about Arnold's family background, we don't know whether Arnold has children or not. So, whatever it may be, from Arnold's point of view, it will be good if it goes for listing, so Arnold shares can be sold at any time, because 30% to be sold to the existing shareholders is almost an impossibility.
Yeah.
So that is a good point that you can talk about it. That's a good point you can talk about it. And probably you will offer him a non-executive director. Even going to offering him we don't know his background, so we can't put him to the audit committee probably, because audit committee should be people with recent and relevant financial experience and people with financial knowledge. We can't put him to the remuneration committee because he may not be, but we can put him to the nomination committee. Isn't it a good thing? Isn't it a good thing? Because, he is a man who is having connections to the founder. So probably he would like to have a good say about the people who should be succession plan. Now this is the type of answer the examiner will expect from you. Not just writing something, something like that. You have to be very creative. Now you must think how to convince this man. This is a good idea, good time. Maybe not the time, but we will plan it. Maybe once the share price goes up, we will go for it. But we have to convince this man, because it's a process. It is going to take long time. So, to convince this man, what are the things I'm going to talk to him? Because Judith might tell you, you better go and talk to Arnold. So you must have your points in your bag before you go. So you have to tell Arnold, look here, man, with your 30%, you will find it extremely difficult one day to realize your money. Go for listing. Allow us to go for listing. Keep your 30%. And we are going to appoint you as a NAD, and we are going to appoint you even as the chairman of nomination committee. That will make that man happy.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
That will make that man happy. They will, because to become a non-executive director and to be there in that kind, all that kind of a thing, that will be good thing to happen. If you don't do that one, still you can go for listing, there is no problem about it. But you are going to cause more harm than good.
Yeah.
Now that also you must discuss. Right? You can say that you are going to convince. If you can't convince, and if that fails, and if you are going to hurt Arnold, Arnold can hurt you more. Why? Arnold can go to the market, and because he has a good 30% shares, he can put the shares at low price.
Yeah, okay.
And that will have a big impact on the other shareholders who are trying to sell their shares. So we must stop both sides of it to be and finally you must give the conclusion. You must, CEO and the rest of the directors must convince Arnold to go for listing. Now that is the kind of answer you probably will be writing for the 60 minutes.
Okay, yeah.
That's the kind of answer you probably will be writing for 60 minutes. Now this is what I want you to get at, Andrew.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely making a lot more sense now.
Yeah, right. This is real practical. You are not thinking of the exams. You are thinking all the time. You have to think of that Judith's mentality. You have to think of Arnold's mentality. You have to think of the Simon and the other fellows, right? Who are trying to take advantage of Judith who has now come. You have to get into that scenario, and that is where the pre-scene is going to help you. And you have to look at the share price. The share price is coming down. This is not the time to go for shares. So if you can get all those things and put it up, I'm sure your answer will come up naturally.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I think, like you said, it's a bit more natural thinking the way you kind of would have worked, really, isn't it, rather than getting
Exactly. I think this is what this strategy paper is all going to be. So this is what I'm going to do in our studies. So
yeah.
So let's look at the next section next time. Another 60 minutes. We will try to look at the next time. So when is our next session? Today we are meeting Friday, no? And we have a session on Monday.
Yes.
Yeah. Monday same time. Same time. Shall we look at the same thing? The second scenario.
Yeah, perfect.
And this is what I'm going to. So and then the pre-scene comes, we will try to do mocks on that area same way.
Right, okay. Yeah.
So you are going to read the pre-scene.
Yeah, definitely be useful when
Yeah.
I think it'll definitely be useful when this pre-scene comes out.
That's correct. Yeah. You are going to look at the pre-scene, have a good knowledge of the company, the people, everything, because today I think you would have got that grip into your hands, and then when we meet, we are going to look at the unseen.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll see you on Monday.
Yeah, perfect.
Monday,
Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, Monday, just before you come, I have another student in the class, so there may be 5 minutes, 10 minutes here and there, but don't worry, I will be there.
No problem.
Okay.
No problem at all.
Okay, thanks Andrew, take care.
Yeah, and you. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, same to you.
Cheers. Speak to you soon.
Right, bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.